Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you all for joining us on yet another webinar series from Fujitsu. Today, we have an exciting topic, which is aligning with the holidays coming right around the corner. And we have Jason Stratton from Ascent, who will be leading us into this discussion, along with Jeff Gibbs. Hello, Jason and Jeff, and thank you for doing this great presentation for us. But before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping. All participants are on a listen-only mode, so if you have any question, please use the Q&A panel on the bottom right corner of your screen, and we will get to your question in the order we receive at the end of this session. Also, give us your feedback on this webinar. We would love to hear back from you and let us know what and where we can improve. With that, Jason, you may begin.
Lalitha, thank you so much for that introduction. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today, presenting with Jeff Gibbs from Fujitsu. And we're excited to share some of the industry insights that we're seeing around holidays 2019. In a recent study that was done by NRF and Prosper Insight and Analytics, we see some really interesting consumer behaviors and expectations for October through December this year. 39% of customers that were surveyed in this study talked about starting their holiday shopping well before the month of November. This is something that's really interesting this year in particular, because we are seeing that there are 6 fewer days to shop between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so consumers are really leaning into the holidays this year, more so than previous years. 56% of the consumers that were surveyed plan to purchase online, and we actually think this number may be a little bit low, but out of those 56%, at least 25% of them expect to buy on mobile devices, and we're seeing this trending up every year as more engagement is happening on mobile devices such as tablets and cell phones. Among these shoppers, and this is really telling this year, 92% are expecting to have free shipping. And so retailers and companies are having to react. D2C companies and retailers are having to react to these expectations that shoppers have, that they'll get free shipping, and even not only free shipping, but also same-day delivery service. 16% of consumers were expected to get same-day delivery service. 48% of those surveyed were expected to use click and collect through BOPIS or ship to store methods. And so the industry is really having to react to these consumer expectations around free shipping, buy online, pick up in store, or ship to store, as well as the expectation that consumers will be making purchases on mobile devices and through emerging channels that traditional retail hasn't required before. Also this year, we're seeing an average spend increase per consumer. This is consistent year over year, but this year's number is 4.2%, with the approximate average spend at $1,048 per shopper. And of course, that varies across demographic, but numbers are continuing going up, as well as opportunities to connect and engage with consumers earlier. We are seeing some interesting and differentiating behaviors with the younger shopping contingent. In a survey that was conducted by Social Media Today, holiday shopping habits, millennials versus Gen Z, we're showing that 78% of millennials and Gen Z shoppers are doing their holiday shopping both online and in store. And so while buying power is still alive and well in the Boomer and the Gen X contingent, we're now seeing that as the millennial group is maturing and achieving a higher level of buying power, and we're starting to see the Gen Z group reach an influential position in market share and percent of buying power and behavior, that these trends are becoming more and more important and more meaningful to companies in the D2C and retail space. The younger contingent obviously has grown up in a much more digitally focused world, and they're expecting this brand experience that retailers are offering, whether online, mobile, or in the four walls of a store, to be similar and relevant. They don't want to have a different experience when they go to different channels to purchase product. Another thing that's interesting about this younger generation is that channels like Snapchat and TikTok are quickly becoming new ways to connect and new ways to purchase product. So even though 22% of millennials and Gen Z shoppers are expecting to shop through social platforms like Instagram or Facebook, we're seeing that there's emerging channels like Snapchat and TikTok that are now becoming popular with this group. And so there's opportunities there that retailers are taking advantage of to connect with the customers through Snapchat and TikTok. We're also seeing themes in marketing with D2C and retail companies to connect in more meaningful ways with Gen Z shoppers. And some of those themes are focused around authenticity, being environmentally responsible, and sustainability, and of course, social acceptance. And so with the Gen Y and the Gen Z demographic, it's not as much about what they want to purchase, it's more about how they think and how your brand fits into that way of thinking and their customer experience. One thing that's always been important for companies leaning into the holidays are sales and discounts. And it's not just percentages here, it's also the timing, right? With the shortened holiday season, we're seeing that more and more D2C and retail companies are focused on starting these sales and discounts well in advance of Black Friday. Jeff, maybe I could turn this over to you for a minute, and you could talk about some of the trends that you've seen at Fujitsu with early Black Friday specials and holidays geared around holiday shopping.
Yes. Hi, Jason. It's always great to be with you on another order management discussion. And this is very valuable information so far. It's great. We hear a lot of things. Probably a couple things that come to mind on this topic is the recent Singles Day in China. When you think about the number of people that shopped in a single day on Alibaba and JD.com, produced sales of roughly $39 billion on a single day. And as you know, Jason, that's more than most retailers in North America do in an entire year. So the promotion of the Singles Day in that area produced extraordinary results. The highest single day in dollars anywhere ever. It's just incredible. The other thing that we hear have seen a lot is with Walmart, Best Buy, and others actually releasing their Black Friday specials, informing consumers when they're going to be, what they're going to be, and in Walmart's case, where they're going to be located in store well ahead of the Black Friday shopping day. We find that very interesting, that promotions are coming out early so that retailers can actually capture consumer dollars ahead of the holidays and ensure the results that they're looking for, Jason.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, really interesting to see the numbers on Singles Day as well as some of these events. I know one of the largest electronic retailers that we have in the US started a pre-Black Friday special well before Black Friday. In fact, it was early November when they kicked off their sales. And I know that they've really capitalized on market share in their vertical because of their pre-Black Friday specials. And that's been exciting to see. Now, the 5 days between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday are still a huge opportunity for retailers that have missed those pre-Black Friday specials. And in fact, in a study by Retail Dive and Adobe Analytics, we're seeing that this period of time, these 5 days, are expected to drive $29 billion in online shopping revenue. So that's a pretty big piece of the pie. The 4 hours between 7 and 11 p.m. are expected to bring in 30% of Cyber Monday revenue. And so that's going to be a key element of the online shopping experience, and certainly in your KPIs, that's something you're going to want to look at and measure, is how effective that period of time was for you as a commerce company. We're also seeing that the Friday to Saturday period, while that is absolutely critical for Black Friday, we're seeing that those larger retailers are taking advantage of larger percentages of revenue, up to 150%, where smaller retailers are only seeing an 84% boost in revenue. So what that tells us is that those smaller retailers really need to lean into the Black Friday period with online sales to take advantage of capturing more market share. That's pretty important. Good. So how are companies succeeding as they prepare for Black Friday? Well, obviously, first and foremost, recognizing that sales and discounts really are the primary driver for consumer purchasing behaviors. Hopefully, many of you on the call have already started your promotional activities. You have them staged and ready to go, and are already capturing these opportunities to connect with and generate sales with your customers. But the second thing is, from a systems perspective, retailers are succeeding by enabling inventory anywhere for fulfillment to meet these customer demands. This is so important. If your systems aren't ready for to support processes like buy online, pick up in store, or ship to store, or even ship from store, you're going to be missing out on opportunities that companies like Amazon and Walmart are well equipped for. And so these systemic processes and infrastructure elements really need to be in place. Third thing, making sure that you're offering that same brand experience across channels. We talked about this expectation a little bit with the demographic. We know that the Gen Z shoppers in particular, if they don't get that consistent experience across online, mobile, and brick and mortar, they'll promptly look elsewhere for their brand affiliation and product. Also making sure that consumer data is consistent and shared across these different touch points. So wherever you have a customer service rep, or wherever you have a store employee that might be engaging, that they're offering the same information and connecting with the consumer in a similar way. And then finally, one thing that's really interesting this year is that gift cards are expected to be the biggest seller and the most common gift that's given. And so we're seeing retailers ramping up and prepping for gift card sales this year. In the Retail Life study that was conducted recently, of those consumer surveys, gift cards are really expected to be the #1 seller, followed by clothing, then books, and then finally electronics. So interesting to see if you're in those spaces and you can get your gift cards out there. I think you're going to have a great season. So here's the $1 million question for those on the call. Are you ready? Have you updated your systems to be omni-channel focused and ready for order input, routing, and enhanced customer service? Do you have strategies in place for a stronger digital marketing experience, particularly for the Gen Y and the Gen Z contingent? Have you implemented same day or next day shipping for rapid fulfillment? And one thing that we didn't talk about, but I think is also important, is what is your reverse logistics and return policies? Are you ready from an infrastructure perspective to handle that on the back of the holidays? And finally, what do your loyalty programs look like? What measures have you taken to entice customers to connect and to stay with your brand? If you can think through these questions and you're answering yes or in the affirmative to having done some of these steps already, I think you're going to have a great holiday season. If you're lagging behind on these, I think you'll find that you're missing some key opportunities. The truth is that while many retailers have invested heavily in technology over the last 10 to 15 years, it's tough to keep pace with changes in consumer behavior. You know, if 10 years ago we would have thought that 25% of shoppers were actually buying on mobile devices, I think we all would have kind of rolled our eyes and said we can't believe it, but it's true. And it requires retailers to keep pace with technology to stay up to date and to make sure that those customer connections and opportunities are continuing. We also know that that as technology becomes more and more important in the shopping experience, the CIO, the CDO, and the CMO debate is still alive. How balanced are you in your organization? Do you have silos, or are these roles working well together around technology and process? Some retailers are really struggling to find the right footprint around right sizing their omni-channel strategy for their stores. Many retailers are struggling with the right types of data to make their omni-channel strategy decisions. And then we also see it, you know, as retailers work through their omni-channel strategy, that sometimes they struggle with the optimal customer experience with price optimization, order management techniques and processes, how to make sure that routing for fulfillment is ready and available and occurring rapidly, and then real-time customer and inventory updates are exposed across all of their channels. Critical things that retailers need to be focused on, but again, they're not easy. These are things that require strategy and effort coming into the holidays. Jeff, talking a little bit about building out strategies, we've highlighted some of the key elements to create the best opportunities for retailers that are coming into the holidays. Do you want to maybe highlight a couple of these points on building strategy, and then I'll kind of come in on the back?
Sure, that'd be great, Jason. You know, before I get into that, I love to tell a story. And one of the stories that your last slide or two reminded me of is we can't forget what's going on at stores, physical stores at local levels. When I look at things that companies like Nike and Puma and Lululemon would be another one, what they're doing with their stores. And it kind of all ties in, Jason, to what you're speaking about in terms of having the right omni-channel experience for your customers. If you look at what Nike and Puma are doing literally within blocks of each other in New York City, the experience that they've created is incredible, and I encourage everybody when they're in New York to take a look at these stores. But when you get right down to it in the end, you know what it's all about, Jason? It's all about delivering product to a customer and how they're going about and how they executed their omni-channel experience for their shoppers on store and of course online. Also in Chicago at Lululemon, they had to do the same thing. They've done a lot of things to entice people to come into their store, in their new store in Chicago, including having classes and things like that. But again, it all gets back to having the capabilities on an omni-channel level, whether it's, as you said, Jason, on phone, using their phones or online to be able to order product and getting it to the customer. So this all kind of comes down to really knowing the right channels for your customers and having the approach, just as these companies have done in their own, tying in their own physical store experience to their online experience is very consistent. So having that type of consistent experience is incredibly important, Jason.
Absolutely. You know, and in addition to that, from a technology perspective, making sure that your solution has a unified back end in place, you know, so it really exposes inventory properly, handles the order processing elements, and optimizes fulfillment. One of the things that we see as kind of a pitfall for a lot of retailers as they're building and implementing their tech strategy is that they're not investing enough in quality training and some of the change management pieces well before the holidays. And so they find themselves scrambling a little bit coming up to the holidays, not only getting the systems ready, but also ensuring that they've got these quality elements that are baked into their implementation. And so prior to pushing out your technology as you're preparing for the holiday, make sure that you've got a good approach and a good methodology in place to ensure quality and the change management elements that are required. Really important in the strategy pieces. So finally, this is our slide here where Fujitsu and Ascent get to talk a little bit about how we can help you as a retailer. And if you're kind of behind the 8 ball on this and you feel like, okay, well, the holidays certainly are here, these are things that we would hope that you would consider as you head into 2020, and we would love to help you on this. So one of the services that Ascent works with Fujitsu on is we offer omni-channel strategy for vertically integrated commerce companies, and that's B2B, D2C, and retail. We also bring a best-in-class implementation approach and methodology to make sure that we're minimizing cost and risk and ensuring quality to guarantee success. And we'd be happy to talk with you about that, those who are on the call, in an offline discussion. But we couldn't do it without leading SaaS-based order management solutions like Glovia Order Management, which Fujitsu offers. Jeff, maybe you could talk a little bit about how Fujitsu integrates with other systems through open APIs for e-commerce platforms, as well as store systems in the back-end ERP systems.
Yes, thanks, Jason. The interesting thing about our approach to order management, and really it's order management and inventory management, of course, is to be able to implement something that's easy and simple to integrate to the existing systems that you have today or changes that you're thinking of making. So Glovia has industry-leading capabilities of integrating either through APIs or through middleware if need be. Into your e-commerce, into your point of sale, into your ERP, into your financials. It even has EDI capabilities. It's more like a mini ERP system into itself. But if you're looking for something that really can handle all of your order logistics, that's what Fujitsu excels at. And because we also have practices within many other companies such as Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and on the list goes, we're really a one-stop shop. So by combining the consulting capabilities that Ascent provides, being industry leaders in the omni-channel experience and strategy, along with the capabilities that Fujitsu has in software and other types of consulting services, we really are a one-stop shop, and we hope it's something that you will consider in your strategies for next year. Was that a good summary, Jason?
It's perfect, Jeff. Thank you so much for that. For those on the call, we really are grateful that you were able to join us today. We hope that the industry trends and some of the things we're seeing retailers be successful with as we go into holidays 2019 resonates with you and gives you some ideas on how you might capitalize on revenue growth, on customer connections, and on having a fantastic holiday season. We wish you the best in your holiday experience this year. And thanks again for joining this webinar. Have a good holiday.
Thanks, Jason. We really want to thank you for joining us today with this excellent presentation as part of the Fujitsu webinar series. We really appreciate your knowledge and experience in the area. And just as you did, we'd also like to extend our best wishes for the upcoming holiday season. So thank you, everybody, for joining today, and have a great holiday selling season. Bye-bye.